make sure that,
Well, I mean, to be quite honest, I believe it was through a phone call that you made to my client at 10 o'clock at night, saying that we have a moratorium.
No, that wasn't true. I've never talked to him at 10 o'clock at night. I had one phone conversation after I talked to Shar Stacy, which was what, at 3 o'clock in the middle of the day. It's the only conversation I've ever had with you.
You called me well late at night, but.
No, I did not. Nathan Fitz did not, I can assure you.
To
Go back and
answer
check,
your
it's
question,
never been me. I
that's
know
where
who I
that,
called.
Okay,
I've never
Nathan,
called you at 10 o'clock
can
at
you
night.
not
So-
disrupt him and let him finish
I'm
talking?
not disrupting, I'm making a
You're
statement.
talking over top of him.
So, you closed on the property March what?
March, no, I think it closed in January.
I don't think so.
Q Public list the closing as March 2021.
March 2021?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Q Public shows me as, I thought.
March?
But they probably have a contract, they might not have closed till then, but what was your
Well,
contract?
that's what I was asking. So I have a question also, just to clarify. You made the statement that the attorney sent a letter and that had sent, and the mayor was aware of the letter. Because she told us in a meeting 2 months ago that she was unaware of a letter that had been sent.
That was a letter that you claimed that I had sent to this group. I was not aware of any letter that I've sent to this group. I had the
Mayor,
minutes
he just
pulled for
said that
that.
you were aware of that. I had the letters have already been submitted.
this wasn't-
What
This
letter is
this
that?
The one Mr. Valley sent?
You said that
grandfathered
I
him
had
in.
sent a letter,
That
and
you
I
were
said I
aware
did
of it.
not
So
send a
ask
letter.
if you were aware of it.
You're not listening
I
to
asked if
me.
you were aware of
That's
it.
not what you asked.
right
Go back and pull the exact letter.
It's right here.
Well, then I must have misunderstood
I
because
guess
you
you
were
did.
trying to
I guess
insinuate
you
I had
did.
sent a letter. I have had a
I said when you were
conversation.
aware, I was very clear, and my words were very clear, so it's a record,
I'm
so
not
go
sure,
ahead.
but we'll go back and look. But anyway,
I
so
don't-
let's go
I
back
know.
to the project and let's, so any other questions?
I'm looking for the date.
So right
I'm sitting here reading the letter.
here's
from
what our
Mr.
email
Valley.
said. Here's what
We
that
closed
letter
on, we closed on March 3rd,
Okay.
2021.
March 3rd, 2021.
You closed March 3rd, 2021. When was the moratorium put in?
It was already out of effect by that
When was
time.
the original put in, Jeff? Do you have an exact date?
It was, I don't have the exact date, but it's around December to.
Yeah, it was December.
Around December.
February, summer's in that time. It was, Ron put it on, made the motion, done that.
But
And then
now-
on for like.
Because there was wind before we, yeah.
But they had already been through the planning commission at that point.
moratorium had expired.
Am I correct, Jeff? They had already been to the planning commission at that point and the moratorium was put
Well, the
on?
planning commission, it was based on recommendations that they bring plans and stuff back to the
So-
council.
Once,
Yeah, so also, just to be clear on this, we're not suggesting that we were given final approvals. There's a process, obviously, that has to be followed. Number one is zoning. That was taken care of March 10th, 2020. At some point along the lines, you submit your plans and you get a letter from utility on sewer and water. Then you present a final site plan, which, for that purpose, it consists of the stamped survey and the stamped site plan. The depictions of what the property is going to look like is simply just for everyone's benefit, to see what is intended for the property to look like. And that has now been submitted for purposes of this, a final site plan review and approval. And you will see in those site plans and the survey that every aspect of this development complies with the setback lines and any of the other city ordinances in place is applicable to our zoning rezoning application approval.
So I'm going back to the date. You closed on this property March 3rd, 2021. And our new height moratorium was put in place in September of 2021.
No,
Yeah. When was it?
2020.
no.
It went through December to February, so, and then they closed on it just this year.
No, that's not.
The new zoning ordinance.
Kelly, can you pull the official records?
And that was the moratorium. The
He's talking about the
was put in
ordinance.
place just a few months ago. So,
When was the ordinance put in?
so the moratorium was put into place last December, last year. They closed this year. So the moratorium was actually in place. And then they closed on the property.
The rezoning happened on March the 3rd, 2020.
And
March
that
10th,
happened,
2020.
Well, I think
March
the
12th, March
planning
3rd.
commission recommendation came on March 3rd and March
That's
10th,
correct.
correct?
Yes, planning
Still
commission
follow the
recommendation was
official
1
dates.
week
it was a
earlier.
year later before they closed after.
I've got a copy of the planning commission.
I'm sure, were you not under contract at that point for the March
Oh,
3rd or March 10th?
absolutely, and the marketing had begun, people were already reserving.
How many do you have reserved?
45 out of the 58.
I had
56, I apologize.
45 out of 66.
56.
56.
This has nothing to do with your request, but what is the price level of these? Where do they start?
They're right in line with yours. Same price. as
Three
ours.
something?
Ours are a little bit bigger, so,
Three something?
no, they're in the quarters.
That's not pertinent. That's not pertinent at this time.
Yeah.
And I said that before I asked that question,
Yeah.
but when we've heard that, you know, the average house price is $800-something thousand, so that's kind of affordable right there.
Average listing price.
It's not affordable for
If
anybody in
the- I think that y'all stated at the last meeting, it was $856,000 was the average price of a house, so $400,000 is not too bad compared to the $856.
For who?
That came from Ms. Thomas, Ms. Kate. That's what she said in a meeting a
I did
couple
not,
months
no,
ago.
I did not say, I said that's totally unreasonable for it to be that.
Yeah.
The average house price
$400,000
is
is not
I'm
an
not
average
suggesting,
for affordable housing, no.
Ooh.
It's not.
I think if you look that price range up on Zillow, there's very few things under
I'm in real estate, I know exactly what the price points are there.
What are they?
Huh?
What is the average for the county if you Google it?
Actually,
Well,
Donna Thompson has it. She
yeah, I was
got
trying
it.
to say, we have the
I
exact stats
do.
if you'd like to. Donna, do you have all the stats?
Yeah, give me just 1 second.
600,000 as a couple of days ago.
How much?
600, she
Oh,
posted
That's
it.
So you're a
that's
couple
average
$100,000
sales This year at Fannin County.
No, it's done by month.
It's got
month?
Georgia MLS lists it by month. They list like the average number of the listing price and the average under contract
That
price.
is not even relevant in my question. I was just
What was your
curious.
question?
I'm just answering a question.
And I stated that prior to asking that question. They didn't have to answer it. Well, I wouldn't have said that $856,000 was the average price of a house if that wasn't it.
But just letting
Okay,
you
let's
know,
get back on
it's
focus,
Northeast Georgia,
please.
not Georgia MLS.
I pulled it from Georgia MLS.
That's wrong. That's not our MLS.
Excuse me in the audience. We need to get back on task here. We are.
You guys are doing a
Let's
great job at
focus.
that.
Yeah, thank you. We're trying, without interruption from the audience.
Okay. Any other questions?
Can we ask questions?
I think the council needs to ask them first to make sure we have.
My question is,
Come up to the podium. If you will, please.
sure,
Well, can we let them finish their presentation before we bring other folks up?
She wants to ask you questions.
Well, he's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
We're not with his, we're not through with our
I'm
questions
waiting
for
on
now.
some dates.
well, I'm here, so let me just finish. What the problem in my view is with the timing of the moratorium and the timing of them closing.
That's what we're trying to get.
The moratorium was put
So
into
would you
place
let me
October
finish?
20th.
Well, do you know the dates?
Of what year?
When you figure out when the moratorium was, and when they closed, and when they can build this or can't build that, according to the moratorium, let me just say that when the hotel went up over there, we were told it was gonna be a lodge. It's not. It is an eyesore in a lot of people's view. It's changed the entire demeanor of our town, the entire personality of our town, and we don't need another one to add to that, which is why the moratorium and the backlash came in the first place, and it went down. So another tall building is not what we need here, period. And if there's any way we cannot have it, I would vote for that. Just make sure, you can take a poll in this city, and this city is very unhappy about that hotel.
I didn't vote on it.
You didn't know that?
I didn't vote on it.
You're voting
Well,
on it
thank
now.
God.
You're voting on it
I
now.
am voting on that. I'm trying to keep the city from being sued. That's right. I don't know the date.
Yeah, the exact date.
What are the dates, Nate?
Hang on, I'm getting the whole list for you here.
Go.
But I
I will
think
say
that,
the October 2020 does not That does not make sense because my communication with Mr.
Well,
Ballard
that's
were
our
in
opinion.
August
I
of
don't-
twenty
I
twenty-one.
don't agree with all your communication with Mr. Ballard and what he sent you, because that council had no knowledge of that. We had no knowledge of any of that. We didn't know the mayor knew. She told us in a meeting she didn't know about
That
it.
communication came from the letter that you had sent.
No.
And a conversation that you had with these
Has
folks.
nothing to do with
You
it.
went
I
around
had
Shore
no
Stacy and went to
conversation
their
with her.
clients.
I had a conversation with her on the phone. I have never met with her in person on this.
But you
We had one
contacted her
conversation.
clients.
No, she called me and asked me that said he wanted me to call him after they had invited me to an open house. Yes, we did. I had one conversation with you about it. That's it. I have,
Nathan, you called me and asked me, no, we're not gonna go, we're not.
no, I would love to,
There-
but whatever it
there's
is,
a
can
lot
be
of
admissible in court,
conversation
because I
behind
need an
that.
affidavit, because I know what I did and what I didn't do. Okay, so the date was, it was passed on March the 9th, okay? So height restriction, like, was, it was put into vote, and it passed on March the 9th, 2021. So the
And it was for
moratorium,
how long?
Was that the first reading or second reading?
well, that was,
That's when it passed.
that's when it passed, it would have been a second, I guess, so it had to be a second in
That's
order
the
to
ordinance,
pass.
we changed the height.
Yeah, the actual ordinance.
Yeah,
That's
that's
not
not a
enough.
moratorium.
The moratorium was October 20th, 2020. Okay, and then,
And how long did, it lasted, I think, 6 months.
it was 120 days, yeah,
120 days.
yeah.
It had expired.
Yeah, it had
But we had
expired,
had our town hall meetings in between and had,
correct.
you know, we wanted to.
Correct.
work on this.
And then the application, when was that filed, when was the application, the zoning application submitted originally? I have all this timeline down already, didn't think I needed it.
Let's see, here it is.
We can't hear you.
Planning Commission met,
It's a public meeting.
March the 3rd, 2020.
Okay. So March the 3rd, 2020 is when the zoning application was submitted, correct, Rhonda? Is that when the meeting
That's
was?
when the meeting was.
Plan.
So that's when it was submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they made recommendations for the city council to approve the zoning.
Right, here it is.
March 30th, March 3rd, 2020.
March 3rd, 2020.
Correct.
And 1 week later, the city council took up that application as well. And that was when that was passed.
Whatever the date that was, the city
March
council
10th, 1 week
approved
later.
the zoning.
Yes.
Let's be clear.
Yeah, March
March
10th.
the 10th.
March the
Got anything
10th,
else
the
on
city
that?
council approved the zoning.
Yes.
Yes.
And I believe, what did it go from on that, C2 to
To
CBD?
CBD.
So it started with C2, and, which is, you know, you're not as restricted, you have C1, C2, and then CBD,
CBD.
so it went to CBD at that point. And CBD is, you know, involves commercial, do these plans have commercial? No? Or is it just urban
How do you mean by
development?
commercial?
As in
Well,
retail, any kind of store
Yeah.
or anything like that?
because you're supposed to have a certain amount of commercial in central business district. You can
You're
have,
not required to be, we can put the law together, but we're not required to do that.
it says it's on the one floor that you have to have a certain percentage of commercial. That's what it says in here.
Well, and in the ordinance that we had, it was on West Main Street and then West,
Yeah, but you had to have a certain amount.
West Main and then on the back side it didn't have.
Yeah, you're supposed to have a certain amount.
Well, they have rent, aren't some of those gonna be rent, actually? Isn't there a percentage of those that will be rent?
They'll probably all be rental.
No, they can't be,
No, they can't all be.
Oh, how can they not be?
because it's a brand new condo complex.
The mortgage company won't allow 100% rentals
Until when?
forever, as long as there's a mortgage on it.
Who polices that?
The HOA of the condo association.
Well,
There are HOAs in other places too that it's not happening.
It's a legal entity.
Doesn't-
See, I think anything in, CBD, if it's, it has to
They
face
have
West
put
First Resource,
things
it's
on
still
there.
on residential
Just
development.
tell me to get educated.
And,
That one. It used to be a used to be.
it also has a commercial mixed-use building. It has to have the lot facing West Main. And
my understanding is when you go to strictly residential, like we did, it changes the setbacks, you have 5-foot setbacks, zeros out lot line. We've done
There's
commercial
all, yeah, there was a time that's.
But when you say you're understanding from who? Who told you that?
from the laws that we read, from your zoning,
Provided to you by who?
by our architects and Jeff Stewart.
I mean, my question,
Commercial use,
So this building is set back 5 feet.
yeah.
With
I
permits,
guess
with
I was just
permits
asking.
solely residential.
Yeah, I was just wondering where we go. Commercial use.
Jeff, do you have an answer to that question?
I'm sorry.
The CBD, commercial use?
Do you have standalone residential?
But it has to face a certain way on the street, and that one I think would face Cook Street.
We've designed the building to face either way in case this argument came up, so you guys can pick which way you want to face,
My
but it
suggestion is
applies
maybe
on both
something-
directions. To the setback.
Yeah, standalone has to face West First Street or East First Street. So he would face West First Street.
So I think at the time we had no CBD in that area when this was designed.
Yeah, CBD's grown,
That's on
but
Cook
it used to be just down here, so
So
they,
this really, that needs to be modified.
I think so too. If you're going to expand CBD.
CBD is not the commercial, not a profit.
Correct.
the zoning isn't the issue, the zoning
you're-
isn't
if
the
you're
issue regardless,
facing-
because it was approved. I mean, here's my thought,
Yeah.
my thought is, I mean, this is the first time I've seen these plans ever. And to ask us to vote on something that we're just getting the plans on today is unacceptable, first of all. Second of all, there's so much controversy with this, and Mr. Valley, who is the current city attorney, but has, now resigned and won't be the new city attorney. To me, this needs a legal review by an attorney who is non-biased, who wasn't involved, and who has not taken direction of something on this project without council approval. To me, this needs a review and needs to be looked at by somebody before we even vote on it. That's my personal opinion. GBI, FBI, anybody, but I don't feel comfortable voting on it until there's a thorough review.
Should the FBI reject that?
Yeah, really, has to have it involved. Any comments from the other council members?
Yeah, I'm with Nathan, I think it needs to be reviewed by an independent party to see.
Who do you recommend?
What is, if I may ask, what would be the nature of the review? Not,
I mean, I think we need to determine, is this, considering none of us knew that this was grandfathered in and that there was a letter supposedly.
Well, if you
No, that's supposed, I saw the letter,
if
it's
you
out
go
there.
looking toward the law, that's what you need to do.
Under
So what
Robert's
does George
rules,
Law
you
say?
can table, you can have a motion to table that takes this.
I know what I can do, but I'm saying, I'm talking about the law.
Well, tell us what the law
You go read
says.
Georgia law.
What is the law?
What does it say?
It says basically exactly what James Valley said in his letter.
He said in his opinion, from what, the letter that I saw that he sent that I did not get, none of us got, he did not consult the council on this period. He sent the letter to their attorney, and none of us got it, and.
Even
You
though
don't-
it
so you
says
didn't
we're all
have
supposed to be
this?
copied on everything,
Never
we
got it.
weren't.
So you don't have this at Winter Land Dock.
Never got a copy of that.
No, we got it on our own after the fact when I found out about it.
So, I'm gonna ask a question. Donna Thompson, I have an email where you said you actually consulted an attorney. And do you remember the email that you sent to Mr. Schwab about an attorney, that the comments that attorney made? Was that a municipal attorney that understands zoning?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
You have Mr. Schwab's letter? Was that through Open Records?
it was,
Good.
okay. It was, so.
I'll be happy. Would you like for me to speak to it?
Well, I mean,
I would, would you?
I just was curious. You
I would
kind
love
of
that.
agreed with the grandfather.
You wouldn't even be calling me out unless it benefited you, but I'll be happy to.
Yeah, please
But
do. I actually would
I'm
like to
just
hear it.
asking,
I would like
you
to
got
hear
an
it.
attorney to look at that, so maybe that's an attorney
Yeah,
we
let her come to
contact.
the podium and
No, I
I'd
wouldn't
love to
bring
hear
it into
what
this.
her feedback is.
I'm sorry.
I can read the letter if you want me to. The email, do you want me to read it, or you want to read it?
Oh, no, I
You know-
remember everything.
Okay.
If you remember, I spoke in public comments a few months back, and everybody got it all in a tizzy and everything, but I looked at you and said, you need to look up the term detrimental reliance. Are you familiar with that term?
very.
Detrimental reliance is what my friend, who is he represents many governments, cities, counties, boards. I consulted him, I paid him in my own pocket to give a rendering on this, and he did mention detrimental reliance. pretty much what you said, that if somebody has put a lot of money towards something, that generally, you have the decision would go to allow them to be grandfathered in. And the two instances that I gave him was I did mention how your parcel went, and he did say detrimental reliance. So I know that the reason you called me out on this is because it benefits what you want to see done.
I just got it today, so I haven't had a chance
You
to.
did an open records request on it.
Yeah, I just received it today, so I was just curious. I was
I
gonna
wish you
ask
had
you
looked it
about it.
up when I mentioned it months ago.
Oh my gosh.
The opposite of that is for somebody, let's say Caesar owned a parcel down the street, and he had been sitting on that parcel and had no decisions made until after the zoning ordinance, when the new zoning went into effect. And then you decided, I'd like to build a 4-story building. And then he comes in, he would have less of a chance of getting that because he had not done any kind of plans or made any presentations or anything. So since I've got the time right now, I will tell you that I feel sorry for you because you have been put into something, because I don't believe the city council as a whole was notified of what we found out through the News Observer. Let's see, on October of this year, they published an article about an email that was sent in December of last year from apparently between, I'm not sure that it came directly to you. I know it was stated in the newspaper that it went from Mr. Bally, who represents the city, to Ms. Doss, who represents Judge Kuiper, I suppose. The problem is that nobody would make that public to us. And that's why you're getting a lot of anger from the citizens on this thing, and why you've gotten a lot of pushback on it. I myself have sent in 4 requests to the city, in addition to having a conversation after a special call meeting on April 3rd, where I spoke with Mayor Whitener and Mr. Stewart. And Mayor Whitener was pushing the fact of we've had tall buildings in the city before. And she took me over and showed me pictures over here of the pictures on the wall to try to push her point. But on April 30th, she told me that the city had not received any final plans. I sent an open records request on July 20th, July 29th, August 16th, and August 18th. And after the 18th, sometime around there, Mr. Fitz brought up in the meeting that the mayor was not responding, or the city was not responding to requests.
And I was concerned about the violation of Georgia law.
There was not any plans to give you. There was nothing there.
So,
Right.
So you're saying that there were no plans there. They're
There were no
saying the plans were already approved and
so that's not confused, which is it? Like,
This is what came with the zoning.
I'm going off of what was printed in the News Observer.
Oh, I don't know what that
Well,
was.
just because
That's
it's printed in the News Observer
Doesn't
doesn't
mean
mean
it's correct.
The subject email that nobody can get a copy of. So tomorrow morning, you'll get a request from me. I'll send one to Ms. Kelly as a formal request for a copy of that email. And if this is so open with everybody, that's what the citizens want to know. I mean, there's an obligation here, and it's getting to the point that, you're withholding information. If it's, as far as like executive committee, you take things to executive committee that are privileged to the city before decisions are made, like pending litigation or purchase of property. But this is a decision that's been made, right? As far as you're concerned, the decision has been given to you that your grandfather
From the
did,
original,
correct?
and into the zoning ordinance as it existed on the date the application was approved.
And
That's all we're
That's
saying.
a decision.
Yes.
But that decision allows you 60-foot building,
But let
if
me-
you wanted it.
Let me clarify, that decision was an attorney's opinion, the city's attorney opinion, who never told the city council about it, nor
Never voted on it,
conferred,
never
we never
discussed.
voted on it, and it was his opinion. A legal opinion is an opinion, just as you know that.
My
And
question
a
would
court would
be,
determine what's actually law.
when was the city charter changed?
And I guess that's why I wonder, why did you spend all the money after that, knowing that this moratorium had gone into place, and you bought the property after that?
Well, I can actually answer that because she actually just reminded me. And remind me what's your name?
The moratorium expired when we purchased the
Donna.
property.
Ms. Thompson
Stated
actually,
it several times.
Yeah.
well, Ms. Thompson just reminded me of this. The letter that went to Ms. Doss,
Mhm.
we never knew about it either.
Hmm?
That's not the letter that we talk about with the one with with James Valley. My
So
law
what do-
firm didn't, I did not communicate with James Valley about this issue until the March 9th moratorium went into place.
Then who did that letter come from?
This-
It went
Which
to
letter?
Lynn Dawson, she was doing title
The
work.
letter that went to Lynn Dawson is what he was holding here a second ago.
No, that's not it. Nope,
It's
that's
just
not
a
it.
Yeah, you're talking about the one-
response
you're
to
talking about
something
the-
That letter's not it. No, I got a letter, it's a lengthy letter.
You're the one, yeah, you're talking about the one that went to me.
I don't know who it went to.
And that was an
I'm
office.
trying to pull it on.
I never, and that's just our whole point, the city council never received that. We never knew that our attorney had given this more, his opinion that it would not be affected.
Which is why I asked the mayor specifically
A
in the
lot
next
of-
meeting if she
A
was
lot
aware
of
of it.
people, you have to understand, a lot of people own properties in CBD,
Mm-hmm.
and they are required to go by that height restriction. I have a vacant lot in CBD, I'm required to go by my new height restriction that I put in place, so I will go by that 35 feet. I'm not asking for any special favors or anything like that. It's just what the law is.
And the law would agree with your interpretation. So, one of the reasons that I've represented this gentleman for a long time is because, contrary to what everybody thinks about lawyers, I will actually give him bad news and straight honest truth. If there was absolutely, unequivocally, actually if it was even a borderline question, that we don't have the rights that we're saying that we have at least to the zoning ordinance, that's the only thing that we're saying we're grandfathered into. I mean, right now, the final site plan is to you for approval. We're not grandfathered into any approval of that. If we comply with the requirements, then we would expect it, but in terms of the zoning ordinance, the date that we were given that, the approval of that application, followed by the next year of activities based on this project. I mean, nobody stops at the zoning approval and then just says, okay, well, I guess we'll sit until closing. 1 full year of doing serious work on both site prep, site analysis, marketing, advertising, taking in all of these tenants who are legitimately pre-reserving these things because it doesn't look like the hotel that everybody's upset about. It doesn't. You can look at the plans. It's going to be gorgeous. And these are also people that they are seeking to buy these not because they're going to work out of Blue Ridge. They're buying these because they want to escape to Blue Ridge because of what is already here. They're not going to come in and ask, well, now that we have this, let's also try and bring in this industry or that industry. They don't want that. They've got that where they are. They love Blue Ridge for what it is. And I really believe that one of the worst instances of just poor circumstances that has come up is this, where the hotel was done. And that, I can't remember her name, but she was up here just a second ago. As you pointed out, that was the moment of fervor. If that hasn't happened and all you all are looking at is a gorgeous set of condo units that are going to attract the type of people that want to invest in this place, I don't think that we're having this conversation. I know for a fact we're not having the moratorium that was put in place.
Tall. The
You're
building
right.
looks better on this
Yeah.
than on that, on that thing, it looks like 10 and a half, I mean, it's awful, I'll say, in my opinion, just in my
Can I
opinion.
clarify something
This
real quick?
business is a lot, this was better, but it's too tall. We don't want to be how Buckhead turned into Atlanta. We don't want to be, we don't want that look. The people in this town don't want tall buildings.
Actually, I think the height on this is 45 feet, is that what I?
At the top of the unit, before you get to a gabled roof, 45 feet.
What's the
At the
deal?
top of the gabled roof, it's 55 feet,
That looks nice.
54 feet. I mean, it's,
Which is measured from the average height of that lot slopes quite a bit. So.
But is that on the,
Okay, so
There's a
you
lot-
understand,
Lots of
one
it,
thing
too.
I'd just like to end with, so you understand where we're coming from, is when the Highlands website was made, somebody, Organize Atlanta did a magazine article that was shared with me, and it went into a social media group. And nobody had seen these plans, nobody had seen the building, nobody had seen any of that, and so there was a lot of talk about it. But the question that it really comes down to is, I would like to know when the city charter was revised that gave the authority to the city attorney to make decisions without the city council's knowledge.
Thank you.
Because that one really troubles me.
well, let me,
Thank you, yes.
and
Yeah,
this
I
is,
know, and this, whoever the letter went to, you, like I said, you'll get an open records request, so Ms. Kelly will be sending it to you. I'm very confused, since this is in the public now, it shouldn't be hidden anymore, so hopefully it will be shared. But we've been asking ever since, like, the website went up and pictures were shared on the website. We were saying, how do you do pre-sales if the final plan hasn't been approved? We've been asking the city this, and we can't. And as I said, these are my dates. I can provide you with the emails that I have sent. They have primarily been addressed. They didn't go through, maybe the first one or two went through. I normally would check with Mr. Stewart to see if any plans had been submitted. He would tell me yes or no, and it was no. And then I would address the email to Mayor Whitener and copy the council on it. But 4 emails came in, and I finally got, the one response I got was after Mr. Phipps put on that things were not being responded, and she said there was nothing on her desk, and I sent the reminder to say this one is still open, it has not been responded to. And she said, sorry, I'm not much help on this one.
That was the exact
So
words.
the news article came out after that.
No, there was a
so-
little bit more before that I did not have any plans, and then I wasn't much help because there's nothing that I
No,
had to give
you
you.
referred it to the city clerk, if I remember correctly, and said, sorry, I can't be much help on this.
Because I didn't have anything to give them.
So our confusion is if the attorney was making a rendered decision on behalf of the city, and somebody at the city was copied on that, then the city
Well-
attorney.
Then somebody's lying about it.
Well, let me go back just a
The city attorney does
second.
not have the right to make decisions.
He works at the pleasure of the council. is
But
what
we
I'm
still
trying to
do
say.
not have any
No
plans
rejection
till
of that.
tonight. Those are the plans we've been waiting for, so we did not have
They've
these.
been moving forward, and this is why.
That doesn't mean that we knew that they were,
I think it's one thing to.
this is what we had before. So,
Ms. Arp, you had a question.
I haven't,
Congratulations on your win.
yes, thank you. My question though is, y'all rezoned this to CBD, but did you not rezone it with conditions? So what was the condition?
Well,
was
the
condition?
zoning
Yeah, what did you-
recommendation came to us, said that they were to resubmit the plans when they got plans, because they didn't have any that they submitted, of architectural type plans, they were to resubmit those for approval, is what it says.
Which they did tonight.
So they did tonight.
Okay.
Exactly.
But I take that y'all have, the council has the discretion, you don't have to approve 60 feet. I mean, you have the discretion, it's supposed to come back for final approval, okay? So where in there, why are y'all talking about this? I mean, it's pretty much.
The
you have
only reason is
discretion.
because the city attorney had sent something based upon, it sounds like the decision of the council, which council had no knowledge of, grandfathering them in. That's where all this came from, and it's like, well, he don't make a decision for us, it's our decision. So, I know, so that's where the whole issue came in, is that letter went out and was copied back and forth. And again, you know our city policy is all council members are supposed to be copied on emails and stuff to the city attorney. Conveniently, the city attorney, we didn't get copied on any of it.
Because council makes a decision, it
Right.
comes back to y'all. It
Right.
comes back to y'all, so
And unfortunately, they didn't have spent money, but they knew there was a moratorium in place, and I guess that's where I would
The
say.
moratorium went into place 6 days after we
But,
closed.
but,
Over a year.
No, not based on public record.
Now,
yeah, and state under took this to court too. If
Uh,
the judge is gonna say the council has the discretion.
so can we do one person at a time so that we can get this recording? Because I think we're gonna end up leaving.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
one person at a time. Angie has the floor, so
Yeah.
please stop. Okay, we need, Angie has the floor. So can we listen to her?
sure.